It's Great One Day here with the Call of the Wild community and on Wild Diamonds. My name is Paul, and I am probably as excited as everyone else with Expansive Worlds officially confirming that the new Great One on the Peru map is the Jaguar. This is the first feline cat Great One, and more details are needed to see how we will be able to hunt it, and how rare or common will it be. But either way, this is an exciting development, and I was inspired to go ahead and look ahead to the next 15 species that I am most excited for to be the next Great One. And so we're going to be doing a mixture here, or I have 8 current species that I just think deserve the Great One treatment, and we'll alternate in between those with 7 new species that can come from regions around the world that might be next reserve spots. And so now I will say I am excluding some of the Africa Big 5 species such as the elephant, rhino, and cheetah, even a giraffe, as I don't think that the game engine right now is just anywhere close to the state to actually deliver those. So we can dream all we want, but they're not going to be here, so let's move forward with other realistic options. And look at 15 Great Ones that could realistically make it here in the near future. So let's go kick off the list here with a current species, and that's number 15, and that is the grizzly bear. This, of course, they come from Western Canada and Alaska. They are featured on the Yukon map in the game, and I feel like they could have been featured on the Ski Ridge map in Canada. The community really voiced a support for a remaster there, and that would have been a great opportunity, but they did not do that. But perhaps the grizzly can come back and gain like the gray wolf functionality, where just kind of out of the blue, EW launched a gray wolf Great One, and it was wildly popular. And so if they did the same thing with the grizzly bear, why not? Let us see a Great One for a species that can take down a moose. It would be really cool. And specifically, it's the largest North American bear, other than polar bears, of course. And I think that the fur variants could be incredible, and the size would just be awesome to see in the lodge. Okay, number 14 is a new species, and this is from Mongolia in Central Asia, and this is the Argali sheep. And specifically, these are the largest wild sheep on Earth. Now, also, I'm getting all of my facts and figures here from just internet searches, so if anything's wrong, feel free to comment below, let me know. But that's what I read. They're the largest wild sheep, and they have spiral horns that can reach up to 6 feet in length, and so I love horned species. We do have a Tar Great One, which has beautiful fur, but I really want to see a sheep or an ibex or a goat, a horned species where the horns can really go wild. And so I think the Argali sheep, if we do get a Mongolia map, would be just an excellent choice and very popular, and something different that we currently have in the Great One lineup. At number 13, we return with a existing species, and I'm just nominating the bison. Whether it's the plains, the wood, or the European. Of course, bison, they are native to North America and Eastern Europe. These are the heaviest, beefiest wild bovine in the West. And what's cool about the bison, I will just say this, that I actually went to Yellowstone National Park in the Green Tetons in the fall of 2025, so just this past year, and I was awed by pulling up and seeing my first herd of them in the park, and eventually made my way to Lamar Valley with my girlfriend, and we saw like dozens and dozens of large herds of 50 at a time. So it was easily hundreds of bison, and it was just you felt like you were seeing a truly just powerful, majestic animal. And I've heard Yellowstone being referred to as the American Serengeti, and it felt like that. And so it would really be something special to me and anyone that has seen them in person to get a Great One bison. Perhaps their horns can be a bit bigger, but it would be probably like a tar, where maybe the horns themselves are a bit more muted. But it's really about the fur variants, the scratches, the fur on them would be amazing. So we would love to see a Great One bison come to the game. Okay, at number 12 here, we're going to go back to a new species, and this is if EW actually goes back to Africa sometime soon. They wouldn't need to do a Big 5 to have a really cool animal. I am nominating the greater kudu. And so you do see these in southern and eastern Africa. From my understanding, the current Virunga Savannah map is inspired by southern Africa. So maybe if they go to eastern Africa, we could see a greater kudu. These are larger, of course, than the lesser kudu that are currently in the Africa map in the game. These just have really large horns that are interesting, like big spirals, and so I think you could see the spiral concept really go out of control in a fun way with the Great One Greater Kudu. I just realized it would be called a Great One Greater Kudu. Yeah, maybe that's a little funky. But and also, they have iconic striping and really cool beards. So I think visually, these would actually be funky, neat variants in the Great One species lineup. So that would be super fun. Okay, let's go back to the current species at number 11 here. And this might be a controversial ranking or anything, but I have a reason, and that's the Bengal tiger. We've seen these, of course, in the Sundarpatan, Nepal region. They're also, I believe, in Bangladesh. And here, this would be much higher ranked, if not for the new announcement that the Jaguar is now the first feline cat to become a Great One species. And so with that, I don't think that there is the urgency to have a feline anytime soon. I think that the time to do a Great One Bengal tiger was likely making the Nepal map, and for whatever reason, EW chose not to. I love the tahr. Tahr are super fun to hunt, but just the Bengal tiger is maybe the most popular animal that they'll ever have in the game, and also, given that there are, I believe, 8 or 9 rare fur variants already, I just kind of feel like, what else would you do for a Great One? I mean, besides adding some scratches and so just some funky concepts, which would be neat, but still would love to see it one day, and so hopefully we kind of get a chance to see some rare color morphs. Okay, number 10 in this list, and this is a new species, and this is the golden eagle. And so I wanted to see if we can include at least one bird. And we do have the ring-necked pheasant, but the golden eagle came up. These are these species. They have a 7-foot wingspan at times. They're just an apex raptor with like large talons, and so I actually think that having an eagle Great One sounds pretty awesome. These can be found in Mongolia, but also apparently, according to the web searches, also in Scotland and in the western United States. And so this could potentially exist on several maps and not even require a new Mongolia map to be around. But if you're going to do one bird species, to me, an eagle is about as epic as it gets. Okay, number 9, we're going to go to the buffalo species, and this can be either the Cape buffalo that is in Africa or the water buffalo that are seen in Asia and also South America. I think either one would be awesome. A buffalo species with their horns, how large they are, either one would be cool. I would tend to lean towards the water buffalo being just a bit more epic because their horns are even longer and more spiraled, but either would be awesome. And I think just having a bovine species Great One is something that we'll likely get at some point coming soon. And so these are already scary enough charging at you, but seeing just like a crazy divergent variant with wild fur on it and just these insane horns curling around and around again, maybe, would just be a very memorable addition to the Great One lineup. Okay, and a similar species, but I just want to go ahead and pair these together. Number 8, going back to a new species, this would be the gar, and these are found in Southeast Asia and in India. And what I've read here is that these are actually the tallest wild bovine and amongst the largest. They're just an absolute tank unit. And so, these are like jet black bulls. And I will say, from what I've read, these are limited in their real-life hunting scenarios. I think they're protected in India, so I'm not saying this is a likely one, but if there was a way to maybe craft a story around it, adding the gar would be cool. But I think if you get either of those, the gar or the buffalo, we're really set for an exciting one for sure. Okay, number 7 on the list here, as we're past the halfway point on the top 15 species that I would most love to see is the next Great One in Call of the Wild. This one here we're going to share, and really all of these from this point down I think could rank as number 1. They're really, really strong. There's just a lot of animals that we need to see as Great Ones. But right here, reindeer or caribou, either one of these would just be incredible, right? So these are like these Arctic and subarctic species, of course. We've seen the reindeer currently in Medved taiga, and then of course the caribou, the variant, are over in Yukon Valley. And so here, what's interesting is that both sexes actually grow antlers, so that's kind of something a little bit different about them. And just they come from these huge herds. The reindeer, to me, It's perhaps the most elaborate and beautiful diamond deer antler in the entire game. I have only seen one. I got one, luckily, on Medved, and I can't even really imagine taking that and extrapolating on it for a Great One variant that would just go even crazier. The deer hunting community really would love to see a return to form of a big deer species after going for the roe, and even with the mule deer, let's go a little bit bigger. Okay, so number 6 on the list, and a new species we have is the musk ox. These come from Arctic Canada and also in Greenland. And man, you're talking about just an ice age icon here. These would be interesting because of their amazing wool furs, and this would be a chance for the Call of the Wild game engine to really show off in a way that they did with the Great One Tar. I mean, those, like the fur, they look so majestic. The Great One Tar looked like, the kings of the mountain in a way, and you could take that same kind of approach design wise but apply it to just a much larger species with the musk ox. I think this would be extremely iconic, and if we do get an Arctic map at some point, give me a musk ox Great One right now. It would be amazing. Okay, number 5 on the list, and we are going for the crocodile. And so this could, of course, be the current saltwater crocodile variant that we have on our Emerald Coast Australia map. Or even if we go to Africa someday and get a Nile crocodile, that would be cool too. And you can include the alligator if you want to, in America. But I think the crocodile, it's the class 9, it's the largest species of them. We need a reptile Great One. And I know that for this Peru map, there was a lot of speculation that maybe there could be the black caiman as the new Great One. But, the Jaguar, I think, was the right call. But there's a lot of interest in getting a reptile Great One. And so while we're in the mood here, lately it seems like we're giving Great One variants to new species types, I think a Great One reptile where you have to shoot along the coast and in the swamps and on the water would be a lot of fun. And people don't have any issues, grinding the crocodile coast in Australia right now. So I actually think it's a doable hunt. And can you imagine the sound and the size if you see one of those running super fast at you right out of the water? That would be one of the most memorable Great Ones possible. Okay, number 4. This is one of my personal favorites on the list. This is a new species. If we go to Turkey or Iran or, again, Mongolia, I think it's coming up on the list. And this is either the Altai ibex or the Bezoar ibex. I'm trying to say those right. But wow, these things are incredible. They have these just immense circular horns. I think they're scimitar horns. They can reach over 4 feet long. And these ibexes are cool too because they just have this unreal cliff climbing ability. If you watch them on video, it's pretty terrifying to see them scale their environment. But I think here the ibexes on the Cuatro Colinas Spain map are iconic, and the Grand Slam multi-mount is maybe the most famous multi-mount in the game. As amazing as those are, and especially with the Besit ibex, I think it has the largest, most impressive horn. These two, either the Altai or the Bezoar, they push it to another level. And so, I mean, a diamond one of these in the game would be amazing, but imagine a Great One treatment. To me, that would be the most impressive horned possible animal to make as a Great One. So I hope that we see these at some point, and that would just make for the sickest addition to a lodge. Okay, rounding out the top 3, and we're going to start off here with, I think, to me, the most popular choice for a current deer in the game, and that's an elk. Give us a Great One elk, please. Rocky Mountain, Manitoban, Roosevelt, a new one, I don't care. Give us a Great One elk. This would satisfy all of the deer fans in the game. Of course, these come in the Western United States and in Canada. They have that iconic bugle sound. Well, can we hear a funkier, a louder one? I will tell you firsthand experience. I was very fortunate. My dad, back when I was a teenager, he took my family to Banff National Park up in Alberta, Canada. And it's, to this day, it's the prettiest place I've ever been. And we were on a golf course for my first run-in with an elk. We were playing at Banff Springs Golf Course, or whatever it's called. and we hit a ball onto a fairway. When we drove up the hill and we saw where the ball was, it was maybe like 30 yards or so from a duo of these elk. And so they were laying down peacefully, we thought. And we thought, well, we'll see how close we can get, to get our ball. And once we got close enough, to both of those elk at the same time, they just sprung up and they rose up on all four legs. And they let out this loud bugle. And it freaked us out. And we drove away on these slow golf carts. It was not impressive. Very scary. So anyway, all that to just say, the antler designs for a Great One elk would rival that of, any, including like the reindeer caribou. And I think that given that we have really cool diamonds, it's beyond time to go ahead and give the elk the Great One treatment. EW, please, let's do this. Okay, so let's go into the top two, and this is the final new species that I have, and it shouldn't be any surprise to anybody. I want to see a Great One polar bear. We all want to see a Great One polar bear. Give us a polar bear. It would be so cool. These are, of course, would come with an Arctic map. These are the largest land carnivore, and they can smell prey from miles away. And so we have a black bear, which is fine, and it's a cool Great One. But a polar bear, man, there's just so many ideas you could do to feature on their white coat and have a ton of scars and scratches or blood marks and who knows what. They would look wild, but with the size of these things, they could easily anchor your trophy lodge. I mean, all Great Ones you're going to feature somewhere because it's a Great One, but only certain ones like the moose or whatnot are like tall and large to really fit into that center lodge area. Yeah, the polar bear would do it. So please, if we get an Arctic map, I mean, to me, give us a muskox and a polar bear. Do them both. So cross our fingers, right? Okay, number one, I hate to be kind of simple here, but I think that this is really just the right choice, at least for me and a lot of people. A lion. Look, I was born in 1988. I'm a 90s kid and was raised on the Lion King, like a lot of us were. They're the king of the jungle. They're amazing creatures. The main thing with the lion, besides just being an amazing, big cat and feline, is of course they have their mane, right? And their manes on their necks, they signal strength and good genetics and whatnot. So the Great One could just go wild with not only fur, not only something with their paws and their tail, but the manes would be incredible. I mean, who knows, right? Even cooler than the Jaguar and the Bengal tiger. It just gives a design element that I think would be the best in the game. And so also, this species needs a remaster as bad as any other. I would argue the most. I mean, they look cool because it's a lion, but technically they look bad. So a Great One lion, they would come out on Southern Africa, maybe East Africa. So to me, at some point, hopefully before the game moves on to a new version, or a sequel or whatever, if it can round out with a Great One lion that can go on the new map and then go on Rahanga, we could all just be at peace. and our souls could rest, and we could lay down our guns once we get a Great One lion and just like have a good feeling of the game. So anyway, with that, I'm gonna wrap this up. I hope you enjoyed this discussion. Comment below which of these would maybe be your favorite next Great One lion, or also definitely recommend another species out there. And maybe if you can, comment below if it's a new species that's your favorite. Kind of mention like what map or region would that be on, and so because that's really what's going to drive any new species Great Ones, of course, is what map will they be. So with that, we'll sign out here. And let's go ahead and look forward to the new Peru map in the Great One Jaguar. But it's always good to look ahead a little bit, right? And see what's around the bend. So with that, this is Wild Diamonds. My name is Paul, and thanks for tuning in. And until next time, happy hunting.